Hello, my friends. This is Wiggle here. I'm going to be starting a new series of videos called Society is Broken. So, this is part one. And I want to talk about it takes a village. What does that mean? What does that look like? What do they mean? And what should we perhaps, how should we handle that same idea? So, you probably heard the term 15-minute cities. And this is the idea of in this grand local or this grand global scale of economy and society, I think that the designers realized that all life is local, all politics are local, all needs are local first and foremost. The global entity is made up of a whole bunch of local entities. So how do they design that? How do they put that together? And how do they service the most people and keep the most people being productive and doing what they want them to do? Because there is a specific design behind society. It is not just randomly coming together. There is intent and purpose behind the 15-minute city, the new village. You've heard it said. I used to hear it when my kids were younger, 20 years ago. I would hear it takes a village, meaning it takes a village to raise a kid. We all have to work together to raise our children. Yeah, fine, that's true to a point. But the primary care needs to come from the parents and the nuclear family, the blood relatives. That's the primary educators and providers and so forth. That's just the natural way of things. That's the way it's always been. That's just natural humanity. And I've seen that change quite a bit in my life. And it's just different. It's parents are part time, and everything else is the full time provider for the children. Yeah, there's a lot of people homeschooling probably for a lot of those reasons. They're just like, I'm going to be the primary educator and provider for my children. And I think that's good. I'm not necessarily sure that you want the state or the religions and or whatever other segments there are to raise your children. You're better off raising your own children, being a full-time parent rather than a part-time parent. So it does take a village, but it takes a village of families, not a village of specialized workers and specialized institutions taking the kids away from their family and then forming them into the image they want to form them into. So local versus global, what does that really mean? If it does take a village, the way that these 15-minute cities are going to be, they're giant people farms. They're designed with intent and purpose of maintaining, controlling, fencing in, and providing necessary life essential goods to keep the livestock working, doing their job, to keep them watered and fed and housed. And the cities are definitely moving in that direction. The 15-minute city is like, it is going to be an area, and you're going to have to be confined in that area because transportation is going to be limited. They're going to bring in everything you need from the global to the local, and they're going to control the flow of goods and services. And you will just be the consumer of what they want to give you. That's the 15-minute city, and it's a gulag. It's going to be a prison. It's not a good thing. I would suggest looking at what they want to do and really deciding, is that the kind of village you want to live in? That is a village that is not sustainable. It's a village that has all of its resources coming in from other places in bulk. It's food made in plants, not grown by plants. It's a life. It's unnatural. It's all bunched up, a bunch of people, and you have all these specialized laborers doing their little piece of the job fit in and provide for everybody else. And that's really not the answer to anything. All of these specialists, we need more generalists. We need to be, and we also need to have a lot more sustainable systems where we're not relying on this, everything getting trucked in, piped in. We'll be more of a generalist in that we can do what we need to do to provide for ourselves in a sustainable local manner. To me, that's the exact opposite of a 15-minute city. And yeah, fine, let's draw a 15-minute radius, but we'll get on a bicycle or a horse or walk and draw that circle and see how much of what you need can you get within that circle, within that radius. That should be your primary provider within that area. So all the people, the families get together and exchange goods and services that are most needed, most locally. And you're just counting on each other. So you only need so many specialists. The specialists are lending towards the globalization, and the generalist is working away from it. Now, specialized skills are important. I'm not speaking against those. But it's like, should you really be doing that specialized skill all the time? Why not be the generalist first and foremost, and then the specialist second, in a secondary fashion, where, you know, if you have a couple hundred people, 300 people in a village, how many mechanics do you need? How many dentists do you need? How many teachers do you need? Whatever it is, what do you need the most of? Well, you need the most of people that are just growing food and providing food, making the food products, preserving the food. That's the main industry for everybody. And everybody wants someone else to do that. Well, if we all do that on a local level, but, vary it. You grow carrots, I'll grow lettuce, and we'll trade. Then we don't have to have it trucked in, and our 15-minute village looks way different. And the specialist economy is reliant on money. You go get your training, you go get your education, you do this skill, and you try to get as much money for it as you can so you can have a better life. Well, why don't we just, instead of relying on money to get everything, we just rely on people. Because people are money. Let's rely on the people that are close by to get what we need mostly. And then we can put on our other hats, be our specialists, do our jobs, have excess, and make some money to get the other things that we can't do for ourselves, or to pay the tax man, or to pay the dentist, or whatever. It's just switching away from that as a primary. This 15-minute village that the globalists are making is going to be completely reliant on the tokenized currency, the government Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it, central bank digital currency. That's going to be very much the main thing that everybody gets what they need with. And it's going to be highly controlled. And it's just, you think you have inflation now. You think you're a slave laborer now. Just wait till you have that situation. So to me, that's a solution towards the direction that the designers and controllers are trying to go. The answer to that is to do the exact opposite. So we become generalists, localized, and we work with the people here, and we quit relying on all the outside inputs. So now we're way more sustainable, way more resilient, and way more independent of our needs. We figure out how to get our own utilities and our own food, our own energy, our own water. We deal with our own waste, all the different wastes. How do we not have to truck those out and make them someone else's problem? How do we deal with them in a way that it's a positive in the local environment instead of a negative? Or trash, you just go bury in a landfill. There's a lot of steps to that, but it can be done, and it's not particularly hard if we take a generalist approach to things. No. And we really need to bring the families back together, and we need to stay closer, and we need to be families first and foremost, not individuals within families trying trying to do this very individualistic approach to society is damaging to the family in general. So let's keep the families together and work together and have the right kind of village, the right kind of 15-minute city. So, along these lines, my next video that I want to present is going to be talking about intentional communities. What that means, is this communes? Is this communism? How does the individual, how does liberty play into that? The individual rights play into that? How does, is it a cult? How do we do it in a way that works? Because intentional communities are the answer, but they're also the problem because of people. People are the solution, and people are the problem. So how do we come together in a way that's going to actually work? And I think that the leftist, more the collectivist mentality is mostly in that intentional community space. They're mostly dictating what that conversation is, and they're trying to live it out and create that. And it is small, it is, but it does exist. And I think there's a lot of problems with the collectivist approach. I think that people that are not the more of the liberty minded, the individual minded people, uh, we need to have more say in the direction of things. We need to be talking about it outside of the church. The church is the community for conservative people. There's very little else. There's some places where you have more of a centralized local group of people, a localized community. But I think that's more and more rare. I think the mom and pop shops are closed down. The corporations have taken over. I think Main Street's, by and large, is just dead. And the core values have shifted away from probably what I would consider more of the natural order towards the collectivist, democratic model, mob rule model. So anyway, that would be an interesting conversation for some. But as far as this 15-minute village idea, if you have anything to add to the conversation, I would appreciate it if you did. Um, I think it's an important thing to look at. And I think we can come up with some solutions, but we have to kind of think outside of their box, their 15 minutes in the box. We need to create our own box, our own space. So anyway, I appreciate you listening today. So please remember to be the light walking in dark places. This is Wiggle Out.